Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to Flowing with Fluid. Today we're going to be doing a yoga flow for the spine, making sure that we are in perfect alignment before starting this chakra series. So go ahead and grab your mat, grab your water, grab some blocks if you need them, and remember to consult your doctor before starting any new workout plan or any new diet. And yeah, I'll see you on the mat. Thank you.
Release. 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 Release.
We're going to start by laying supine on our backs. And we're just going to take this time to breathe and check in with our bodies and just take note of how we're feeling today without passing any judgments about the feelings that we are having. And we want to make sure that we are taking deep inhales and deep exhales. We can move into a 3-part breath where when we breathe in, we expand first through our bellies, working our way up to our ribs and to our chest. And as we exhale, exhaling from our chest, ribs, and belly. And we're going to take a deep inhale in, and on our exhale, we're going to exhale our left knee to our chest. And we're going to place our hands on the backs of our thighs to help us stretch out. And on our next exhale, we're going to drop that leg right back down to the mat. Take a deep inhale in and exhale as we bring the right knee to our chest. Clasping our hands on the backs of the thighs. And on our next exhale, we're going to bring our left knee to our chest, bringing both knees to chest. And we can give ourselves a nice big hug here as we bring our hands behind our legs, hugging underneath those knees. And we can rock side to side, giving our backs a little massage. And we're going to drop our feet flat to the mat, keeping our knees bent and keeping about 6 inches from our glutes to our heels. And we're going to come into hip raises. What we're going to do is on our exhale, we're going to bring our hips up to the sky. And on our inhale, we'll drop our hips back down to the mat. So exhale as we squeeze our hips up to the ceiling. And inhale as we drop our hips back down to the mat. And we're working at the pace of our own breath, matching each breath per movement. And now we're going to bring our hands behind our ears, coming up into a crunch, lifting just our shoulders off of the mat. And we want to make sure that we're not placing any pressure on our neck with our hands, but that we're using our core to lift ourselves up. Exhaling as we go into that crunch and inhaling on our way back down to the mat. Again, going at our own pace, matching one breath per movement. And we can stretch out, expanding our legs and our hands and squeezing through that stretch, trying to elongate as long as possible. And we can roll over to our side and gently press ourselves up to a seated position. And we're going to start by shaking our heads no. Moving our heads left to right. We're saying no to all negativity, all things that do not serve us. We can bring our head to center and start to lift our head up and down, saying yes. Yes to all of the positive things in our life. Yes to everything that serves us, everything that helps us. And remembering to breathe as we flow through this movement. And if we have trouble crossing our legs in front of us, we do have the option of sitting on a block. And we're going to begin to raise our arms up as we inhale, taking deep inhales on the way up. And as we bring our arms back down, we'll exhale our arms at our sides. Starting with the center. And we're going to begin to alternate sides. So inhaling the arms up to center. And as we exhale, exhaling over to the left or right side, alternating between sides. And again, we have the option of sitting on a block or two. And we are striving to look behind us, but the main goal is to keep our spines straight. One more inhale, bring the arms up, and one more exhale, dropping the arms at our sides. And now we're going to get over into our tabletop position, making sure that our wrists are directly underneath our shoulders and that our knees are directly underneath our hips as we come into our cat-cow. In our cat-cow, as we exhale, we're going to round out that back, dropping the head down. And as we inhale, we're going to arch that back, lifting the head up, looking up towards the ceiling. And continuing to flow through this movement at the pace of our own breath, matching one breath per movement. And we're going to find our neutral spine and move into our spinal rotations. And all we're doing is just rotating our torso in a circle, striving to only move that torso. And we can rotate sides, breathing freely through this movement. We're going to find our neutral spine and go into our hip rotations. As we lean back, our glutes are going to gently graze our heels, and as we lean forward, we're going to hinge forward slightly as if we're coming into a plank. And we're doing this in a circular motion. And we can alternate directions. And we can find our neutral spine, kick those knees out, and as we exhale, exhaling into that child's pose. In our child's pose, we're striving to get our glutes to our heels, but that's perfectly fine if they do not fall at our heels. We're striving to place our chest flat onto the mat so we can take a deep inhale in, and on our exhale, strive to sink our chest down to the mat, extending the arms out in front of us. This is our resting pose, so we can take this time to take a few breaths and to rest in this pose. And we're going to come up into that tabletop position, bringing our knees together. We're going to curl those toes under, lifting the hips up and back for downward dog. And we can use this time to pedal the feet, bending one leg at a time, striving to feel that stretch in our calf muscle on the straight leg. Making sure that we have our palms flat on the mat, pushing our chest towards our thighs. Straightening out both legs, and we're going to walk our feet up to our hands. And we can slowly lift up, lifting up like a rag doll, letting our head hang. And as we reach the top, we're going to inhale the arms up to the sky. And as we exhale, we're going to swan dive forward, keeping our back straight until we reach the bottom. And we're going to bend at our elbows, clasping our hands at our shoulders. And in order to keep our back straight, we do have the option of bending our knees so that our bellies can rest on our thighs. And we can sway back and forth, feeling a nice deep stretch in our spines. Finding our way to center, dropping our hands down to the mat, inhaling up into flat back, keeping our backs straight and our head should be in alignment. My head is a little bit too high, so make sure that you do drop your head in perfect alignment with your spine. And we're going to step back into our plank, hugging our bodies with our elbows on the way down, inhaling up into upward dog. And as we exhale, we're going to come into that tabletop position, kick our knees out to the side, and exhale into our child's pose. Taking a second here to breathe. We're going to inhale up into our tabletop position, kicking our hips up and back for downward dog. And we're going to float the left heel to the ceiling. And when we swing it through, we're going to swing it up to touch our elbow on the same side. Exhale our leg back up to the ceiling, and we're going to swing it to the opposite elbow. And again, exhaling that leg back up straight and bringing that left leg to center. And we're going to inhale up into our warrior one. Exhaling into our warrior two, checking our alignment. Leaning forward and then flipping our palm, lifting our palm up to the ceiling, up and back for warrior three. And we also have the option of straightening out that front knee. We want to make sure we're not placing any pressure on that back leg with that hand. It should be able to move freely. Exhaling back into warrior two. Bringing our hands down to the mat, stepping that back leg forward, inhaling up into mountain, exhaling as we swan dive forward, inhaling up into flat back, exhaling our hands at our sides, stepping back into that plank, hugging our bodies with our elbows as we exhale down, inhaling up into our upward dog. And as we exhale, we're going to curl the toes under, lifting the hips up and back for downward dog. Floating that right heel to the ceiling. We're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to exhale, bringing that knee to the same side, extending that leg back up to the ceiling. Exhaling as we bring our leg to the opposite elbow. Inhaling that leg back up, and we're going to exhale our leg up to our hand. Coming up into our warrior one, checking our alignment. Exhaling into warrior two, leaning forward, up and back for our warrior three. Stretching out that hip. And we have the option of straightening that front leg as well. Bending that front leg again, straightening out into our warrior two. Inhaling into our warrior one, dropping back down, dropping our hands down to the mat, stepping forward into that forward fold. Inhaling up into mountain. Exhaling, bringing one foot back. It doesn't matter which foot you step back with. We just want to make sure that our feet, our toes are pointed to the short edges of our mat. And we're going to find our comfortable squatting position. So if this is where you should stop to be comfortable, then that's where you stop. Or if you can go all the way down, go all the way down. We're doing whatever feels best for us and our bodies. And whenever you're ready, you can begin to add the arms. So as we lift up, we're going to be inhaling, making sure we have that correct balance and a firm ground. Inhaling the arms up. And as we exhale, we're going to exhale our elbows to our sides, coming into that squat. So inhaling up, straightening up those legs. And as we exhale, exhaling into that squat and bringing our elbows to our sides. And we can straighten out those arms, moving into our sunflowers. Bringing our hands together at the bottom and at the top, hinging forward slightly in order to bring our hands together at the bottom. Remembering to inhale as we bring our hands and legs up, and exhaling as we sit down into that squat. And we're going to exhale, coming out from that exercise, stepping that back leg forward, fully extending up into mountain. And we're going to swan dive forward into forward fold. Inhale up into flat back. Exhale, dropping our hands onto the mat, coming into our plank. Exhaling as we hug our bodies with the elbows on the way down. Inhaling up into our upward dog. And as we exhale, we can go into that downward dog. And remember, we always have the option of keeping our knees on the mat. And we're going to extend our left leg up to the ceiling and bend that knee in order to get that foot over to the opposite side. That's going to help us stretch out our hip. And we can extend that leg straight and swing it through to our hands, placing our knee on the outside of our hands and hands on the insides of our thighs, making sure that our knee is directly over that ankle. And we also have the option of grabbing a block here to bring the ground closer to us, and we can also come down onto our forearms if that is comfortable for us. Taking a few moments to breathe here. Inhaling that back leg forward, placing our hands on either side of our foot, stepping that back foot forward into our forward fold. Inhaling up into mountain, exhaling as we swan dive forward. Inhaling up into that flat back, exhaling as we come back down into our forward fold. Stepping back into our plank, exhaling on the way down to the mat. Inhaling up into our upward dog. And as we exhale, exhaling into our downward dog. Extending that right leg to the ceiling. And same thing on this side. We're going to bend that knee, helping us to stretch out that side and stretch out our hip. And we can straighten out that leg and swing it through to the outside of our hands, placing that back knee down onto the mat, coming into our runner stretch, checking our alignment again. And if we have trouble bringing that foot forward, we always have the option of using our hands to bring that leg to perfect alignment. We want to make sure that our knee is not coming over our toes, and also that we have that perfect 90-degree angle in our knee. And we're going to bring that back knee off of the mat, placing our hands on either side of the foot, stepping that back foot forward into our forward fold, inhaling up into mountain, exhaling into our forward fold, inhaling up into flat back, exhaling our hands on either side of our feet as we step back into our plank, exhaling on the way down to the mat, inhaling up into our upper dog. And as we exhale, we're going to bring our hips up and back for downward dog. Extending that left leg to the ceiling, really striving to get it up there. And we're going to swing our leg through to our hands, placing our back heel down onto the mat, coming up into our warrior one. Checking our alignment here, making sure that we just see that big toe poking over our knee. And we're going to exhale into warrior two. And we can straighten out that leg, find a comfortable position for our legs. And we're going to lean forward until we can't anymore and drop that left arm down. And we can place it on our shin, on our ankle, place it on the mat, whatever feels most comfortable for us. We also have the option of using a block to bring the ground closer to us. We want to strive to open up our chest, and we're going to look towards our right arm that is at the ceiling, pointed towards the ceiling. Taking a few moments to breathe here. And we're going to exhale that right arm down to the mat, twisting and inhaling our left arm up straight. So we're staying on the same side. All we're doing is twisting the arm down and facing the opposite, facing our legs. And we're going to step that back leg forward, inhaling up into our mountain. Exhaling as we swan dive forward into our forward fold, inhaling up into flat back. Exhaling our hands on either side of our feet, stepping back into that plank. Exhaling as we drop our bodies down to the mat, inhaling up into that upper dog. Exhaling into our downward dog and floating that right heel to the ceiling. Striving to really get a good stretch here. Exhaling as we bring our foot in between our hands, placing that back heel down. Inhaling up into warrior one, checking our alignment. And exhaling into warrior two. Straightening out that front knee. Finding a comfortable position for our legs, leaning forward until we can't anymore, dropping that arm down to the mat or on our blocks, on our legs, whatever feels most comfortable for us. And we're striving to keep that leg straight, but that is not always possible for our flexibility. So sometimes we may need to have that leg bent slightly. We're going to go ahead and exhale that that left arm down to the mat and extending our right arm up to the ceiling. And we're going to exhale both arms flat down to the mat, stepping that back leg forward into our forward fold. And we're going to inhale all the way up into our mountain, extending back, reaching back behind us. And as we exhale, we're going to exhale our hands at our sides. Take a second to get some water if you need some. Take a breather. Just take a couple breaths right here. And we're going to come into our chair flow. So this is our chair flow. We're going to inhale the arms up into mountain. Exhale, swan dive forward. Into forward fold. And then inhaling up into mountain once more. And when we exhale, we're going to exhale into chair. And while we're in chair, we want to make sure that our hips are directly, our knees and our feet are directly hip width apart as we sit back into that chair, making sure that we keep that alignment. Now, sometimes our feet may want to slide out or slide in. We want to strive to keep our feet straight. And we have the option of having our hands at heart center, making sure that our knees are directly underneath our ankles and that they are not coming towards our toes as we sit back into that chair pose. And we're going to start to move into our flow. So inhaling up into mountain, exhaling into chair, inhaling back up to mountain, exhaling, swan diving forward into our forward fold, inhaling back up into mountain, and exhaling to chair. So this is our flow. We can feel free to flow through this movement at the pace of our own breath. And we're going to meet in mountain. Inhaling the arms up and exhaling our hands to heart center. And now we're going to stretch out our chest. So we're going to bring our arms behind us as if we're holding a beach ball. And for some of us, this is the most comfortable for this pose, and this is where we'll stay. But if we are comfortable with clasping our hands together behind our backs, then we can go ahead and clasp our hands together as long as we're not forcing our hands together. And if we feel like we need an additional stretch, we can also bend at our knees as if we're sitting back into that chair and just allow our chest to rest on our thighs and clasping our hands up. And we can come out of that pose and release from that stretch. And we're going to inhale, one arm up to the ceiling. Taking a couple moments to breathe here, stretching through our fingertips and through our heels. And we can also lean to the side slightly. Inhaling both arms up. Exhaling that arm down that we were just stretching out. and leaving the opposite arm to the ceiling, stretching out that opposite side. Inhaling both arms up and exhaling our hands at our sides. Now we're going to come into our balancing pose. We're going to do tree pose. So we want to make sure we have a firm ground by lifting up our toes, shaking the four corners of our feet. And once we feel that we have that firm ground, we can go ahead and bring our opposite leg up. We want to make sure that we're placing our heel either above or below the knee and not directly on the knee. And it may help to find a focal point, something that's not going to move, that you can look at, that will help you focus and balance. And if you fall out, that is perfectly fine. Just catch yourself and get right back into the pose. Now we can switch sides. We're going to shake out that foot that we were just balancing on. Find our firm ground on the opposite side. And whenever we are ready, we can come back into that pose. And remember, we have the option of keeping our hands at heart center or extending our arms out wide as if we are a tree. We can also play around with some mudras, if we want to. It's completely up to you. Exhale from that pose, shaking out that foot that we were just balancing on. And we're going to step back to the front of our mat, inhaling our arms up into mountain. Exhaling as we swan dive forward, dropping our hands at our feet, inhaling up into flat back, exhaling our hands at the mat on either sides of our feet. Stepping back into our plank, and this is our last vinyasa. So we want to strive to do a slow, strong release down to the mat, keeping our core tight. Inhaling up into our upper dog, and when we exhale, we're going to exhale into a tabletop position, kick the knees out, and sit back into our child's pose. Sinking our chest down to the mat. Inhaling up into our tabletop position, bringing our knees together. We're directly underneath the hips. We're going to come back into our cat-cow, making sure that our wrists are directly underneath our shoulders, knees directly underneath the hips. And as we exhale, rounding out that back, dropping the head. And as we inhale, arching that back and releasing the head up to the ceiling. Continuing through this flow at the pace of our own breath. We're going to find our neutral spine. We're going to inhale up, opposite arm and leg. And when we do this, we want to strive to push through our heels and through our fingertips. And we also have the option of lifting up a leg and an arm at a time instead of lifting both an arm and a leg. We're going to have to keep our core tight in order to keep our balance here. And remember to flow at our own pace. It's important to strengthen our core when we are focusing on our spine because our core helps us to have a healthy back. And we can find our neutral spine, and we're going to sit back into a seated position. Bringing our legs in front of us, we're going to inhale the arms up. And as we exhale, striving to get our hands down to our feet. Now remember that the most important thing is that our backs are straight and that we're not straining ourselves. So we're going to find our comfortable placement for our bodies and just sit there in that stretch. Inhaling as we release from that stretch. And we're going to bring our legs together, bringing our heels together. And remember that we have the option of sitting on a block here if our hips are too tight for us to sit in this pose. The most important thing in this stretch is to make sure that our backs are straight. And what we're doing is we're doing a sinking stretch. So we're striving to get deeper into the stretch with each exhale. Exhaling at our own pace. And we're going to release from that stretch. We're going to bend at our knees and slowly drop our bodies down to the mat. We're going to straighten out our legs, laying supine, flat on the mat. Take a deep inhale in, and on our exhale, we're going to exhale our left knee to our chest, clasping our hands on the back of that thigh, just like we did in the beginning. But from here, we're going to grab that left knee with our right arm and extend, twisting that left knee over to the right side. Our left arm is expanded out straight, and our gaze is lifted towards that left arm. We want to make sure that both shoulders stay on the mat as we do this stretch. And we can exhale, releasing from that stretch, bringing that left leg back over to the left side. Take a deep inhale in, and on our exhale, bringing that right knee to chest, extending the right arm out long, and using that left arm to bring the right knee over to the right side. And we're going to exhale, releasing from that stretch, clasping our hands on the back of that right thigh. And we can rotate the ankle here. And we're going to exhale, releasing that leg down to the mat, and inhale our left knee to our chest, and also rotate the ankle here. Taking a deep breath in, and on our exhale, bringing our right knee to our chest, bringing both knees to chest. Giving ourselves a big hug here, and we can rock side to side. We also have the option of going into happy baby, where we grab our big toe, keeping our hands on the inside of our knees, and rock side to side. And we can give ourselves a big hug and exhale, releasing those legs back down to the mat. Take this time to congratulate yourself. And also make sure that you take time for a meditation here at the end. I don't want to limit your time for your meditation, for your final relaxation. So feel free to take a good 10 minutes or so, however long you need, to just relax, clear your mind. Remember that the past and the future do not exist in this moment. And take this time to meditate for you. I thank you so much for practicing with me today, and I will see you soon.